In the age of innocence before sin, it says this, that they were both naked, and the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Before sin, there was no shame. They were made in the image of God. God is clothed in light. They were likely clothed in light as well. But look what happened to them in regards to nakedness after sin, and let's look at the last day application. Notice after they eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, it says the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And then they hear the voice of God walking through the Garden of Eden. Notice what happens next. God asks Adam, he says, "Where are you?" I don't think it's because God didn't know where he was at. They weren't playing hide and seek. Maybe Adam and Eve were with God, but I think he was asking them if they knew where they were at. Notice the explanation. They said, "I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself." So they knew they were naked. They knew they had sinned. Now look what happens in the last day church. The seventh church of Revelation, the church of Laodicea. Notice what God says about them. He says, "Because you say I'm rich and increased with goods and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked." So in the last days, God's church does not realize that they are naked. Now this is not talking about in the literal sense. There would be nothing more horrifying than going to church and everybody being naked. That would be a terrible sight. But this is talking about in a spiritual sense. The church of the last days is blind. They have need of nothing. They do not feel their need of God. They feel like they know everything, and they do not know that they're actually spiritually naked, meaning they do not have the covering of Christ's righteousness. Adam and Eve at least knew they were naked, and God actually sacrificed an animal and gave them a covering. Are you clothed with the righteousness of Christ today, or are you naked and afraid?